Cohen, and we are looking at Gallup's 2022 report of employee engagement globally. Now, a lot of you have been following us and kind of looking at what we're saying about this report. What I'm finding is that it really goes a lot deeper than just a report. Yes, 170 pages long. Yes, it's got really valuable information on a global scale there. But how does it affect you and your company? Today, I have one of the most amazing guys I know in the universe. Yes, not even the world, the universe, Dwayne Canova. Dwayne is, well, he's a partner of mine. He's also a highly experienced executive level leader, coach, mentor. And Dwayne, what am I missing?
Well, that's really it. That's a lot. Thank you so much. And I'm just glad to be a part of you here.
So listen, there's a lot that we could discuss. Again, we try and keep these conversations to about 20 to 30 minutes, help you get your week off to the right start, thinking about your people and how you can affect your relationship with them and have them perform at their peak. Mm-hmm. So Dwayne, you and I thought about the Gallup State of the Workplace report for 2022. There's some key figures that I'll just share with everybody, and then let's focus on like one of the key areas that this report impacts around employees. So some of the stats from this report are 21% of employees are engaged at work, and 33% of employees are thriving in their overall well-being. And while we can certainly talk about those two numbers and what they mean to each other, a couple of other numbers I think are really important to take a look at here too. And that is that, look, we all experience stress. Gallup's report finds that 44% of our employees experienced a lot of stress just yesterday. And also said that 45% of employees said now is a good time to find a job. Listen, Great Resignation, it's here. We are experiencing that today. And so, Dwayne, let's talk a little bit about those numbers, and not just the numbers, but what do they mean and what can we do to impact those numbers, those 45% of employees that are saying, hey, maybe I'm going to go find a job. Maybe it's time to make a change. Like, what's the impact of losing those people? What do you think?
Well, first of all, it really is a sense of really understanding that if we're going to be an exceptional executive team, it begins with engaging well with all of the people who are making all the things happen that we need to have happen. And so engaging with them becomes a key piece. And I think that too often the executive teams get really stuck on the broken record of it's all about goals. It's all about exceeding the goals, and let's go focus on the goals. And they don't take the time to build an environment within which everyone who is making those goals get exceeded are really taken care of in a sense, but also building a system within which they as individuals can thrive.
So that's really great, Dwayne, because what I'm hearing is in your world, it's about the environment and what the leadership team creates for the company.
Yes. Yeah, it's all about the environment. Exactly. And it doesn't take, it doesn't take all of the executive team's time, because they do have to be involved with managing and engaging with individuals to make sure that we're doing right things in the right way and all that sort of stuff. That's all critical piece. But we need to build an environment. And when we think of culture, I love the word culture. It's all about value systems and so forth. The difficulty is once we talk about it, we never have to engage with it or make it live. So that's why I use the word environment. And environment, one of the key things with environment is how we engage with one another. Just the word engagement itself is a whole long discussion, I think.
Yeah. So, when I think about an environment, I think about kind of the global view, right? We have physical environments like there's a park and a zoo, right? We have our home. Those are all physical environments. Today, as a business, we generally have two environments.
Yes.
The office.
Yep.
And Zoom.
Yes. Yes.
Right? And so, right? So when you think about the fact that we have a virtual environment and a physical environment, how we create one that overlaps and supports the other, it's a new concept for a lot of companies, isn't it, today?
Absolutely. I mean, just think of this, you and I getting ready to do this session today. I mean, I thought about it, I made notes, we read, we had conversations. It was an engagement process that was completely stimulating. And I knew that when we got here and we get on air, we would say things that we hadn't even thought or discussed because we just get more clarity about as we do things. But that's the way it needs to be within a physical work environment and within the virtual work environment. I have to have a desire to engage with others. And so that means I'm going to engage with people where there's openness, there's a sense of commonality. I love Simon Sinek saying, start with why. But starting with why, we're going to do something that we all love and respect. But that's just the beginning. Now, how we treat one another, our professional engagement standards. I treat people with respect, and I know that they'll treat me with respect. If I say something that they disagree with, we'll know that we disagree. It's okay to disagree. And then we work through and discuss, and away we go. But it has to be this sense of openness, this sense of transparency. We shouldn't use any words in our vocabulary that would even hint at the idea of being defensive. I don't have to be defensive. I can be open and I can be transparent.
So I love those two words, excuse me. And I want to add something to this because you and I have had a conversation. I feel strongly that I'm going to have a sip of coffee real quick. Okay. I feel strongly about leaders creating an environment where people can build trust and trust them, and also where they have the ability to trust their people. But in the environment I look at, I'm also looking to create one where there's alignment and people know it, and there's freedom in that leaders have other people on the team that they're bringing up as leaders, and they're creating the opportunity for those people to bring other people up as leaders as well. Yes. So yes. Now when you do that, it's very interesting because I've seen a lot of companies do this, and a lot of them do it by the first thing they'll do is, we're going to do leadership training. That's great, right? And that training fits inside of the bubble that the environment that the CEO or the founder or whomever the executive of the group or organization is that's running it, it sits inside of the environment they've created. So now with that, you say openness and transparency. I feel strongly those are important things. I also have this new motto that I'm embracing. And it comes from the belief that people like to work with people that are real. And when they know you're real, then they feel a bond of trust is much easier and much more difficult to break. Like everyone in the world is always looking for, oh, see, I told you we can't trust him. See, I told you they were going to do something that they said they weren't going to do. And it all starts with the leader at the top. I like to use the word vulnerable. In my world, that's a powerful word because it means you've been able to dig inside of your head and your heart, and you're able to say something simple to your people like, hey, you know what? I made a mistake here. And I'm going to fix it, but I just want you guys to know that there's nothing being swept under the rug. We all make mistakes. I made one here. In my world, that view of looking bad is the new looking good, is that's a leader that is looking bad. But he's telling his people, look, I'm for real. I don't make a lot of mistakes, but I found one. And I want you guys to know that it's okay to make mistakes. Please don't make a lot of them.
Yeah,
But,
sure.
right? But
Yeah.
if you make one, own it. Yeah. Correct it. And work with the team so people know where the gap was and where to go from here. Yeah. Now, when I said the word vulnerable in our pre-meeting, you kind of you got totally triggered. Tell me about that.
Well, one of the things about the word vulnerable, first of all, how do you not appreciate it? I appreciate all the writings from Brene Brown. She talks about it being, vulnerable. And I think, to me, that's a reflection of openness. And and if someone feels vulnerable, they also feel that they're being attacked. And so that's why I don't particularly like that word vulnerable, because vulnerable means I'm being attacked. And let's build an environment where no one attacks anyone. And if I may get off on one little tangent here,
sure.
I'm going to call it a little bit of an intellectual tangent, if you will.
Okay.
We live life, excuse me just one second here. We actually live life with this as a part of kind of who we are. And here's what I think. As an individual, I have thoughts, I have attitudes, and I have motives, and out of that comes behavior. Now, here is the difficulty. If I have thoughts and attitudes and motives and they equal pure behavior, then I have pure thoughts, attitudes, and motives. However, I have thoughts, attitudes, and motives that I have to manipulate in order to get to a good behavior. And so as individuals and as leaders particularly, we need to be incredibly count-onable about quality thoughts, quality attitudes, quality motives, and out of that will come the quality behaviors that everyone will see and work with and be attracted to.
So, Dwayne, that's a great statement. And what I'd love to kind of dissect about that for a minute is you say the word quality. How do you measure that?
Well, first of all, I think that there are certain, I'm going to call it almost universal standards, if you will.
Okay.
So one of the universal standards, I need to respect everyone, period, respect. And so that to me is just an important thing. The other thing is, and I don't know that this is universal, but it should become, I should also be the kind of person that's looking for how what I do impacts positively someone else. So everything that I do has a positive impact on someone else. The other thing is, in terms of the motives piece, if you will, my motives have to be that everything is win-win-win. The world is not a zero-sum game. If you win, I lose. It's not zero-sum. We need to make this a win-win-win world in which we live. And if we'll take those three kind of universal principles, if you will, and we continue to work on our thoughts and our attitudes and our motives, then the behavior that comes out of that will be just fluid, and we will have professional engagement standards, ones that we can be proud of.
Great. So I'm still curious how you measure it, though, because, it seems like a squishy area just because there's not like a scale, right?
Yes. Well, let me just say this, that maybe we could do this. If I say or do something that makes another person cringe, then that would be a negative, okay? So now do I cause them to cringe 1 on the scale or 10 on the scale?
Well, it doesn't really matter because you've caused them to cringe.
Exactly.
Like if you just made it very simple, it's a -1 or a +1. I love it. It's really great, Dwayne, because I call that being triggered, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I like that. Thank you for that. That's good. Very good, Jeff.
Yeah. So when you're triggered, that's definitely a -1. So when we talk about employee engagement and some things that we can actually do to affect employee engagement today as leaders,
Mm-hmm.
I have some opinions. Before I share any of mine, Dwayne, I want to hear from you. What's one or two things that leaders can do that would affect employee engagement and reduce that 45% of people that's actively looking for a new job to 10?
Well, first of all, even though one of the things that we accomplished, I started a business and we grew the business from napkin drawings to 3,000 employees in 5 countries. So I had a lot of opportunity to engage with executive teams and at the different offices we had around the world. And one of the things that I found as leaders is I need to be able to go eyeball to eyeball with someone for 15 or 20 minutes on I'm going to call it a reasonably often schedule for people that I'm engaging with. And I need to be just as open. I need to be transparent. I need them to know that their best interest is a high priority for me. And if we will engage in those and do those often, and then we will demonstrate those as we have occasion to, which we always will have occasion to demonstrate our heart, that becomes a key piece for us in establishing relationships. Sometimes it's only a Zoom, but on a Zoom, I can accomplish a whole lot of engagement with someone.
Hey, listen, people just need to know, Dwayne, you and I have been working together for 3 years.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
We've never shaken hands.
Isn't that amazing?
I have. So what you're saying is quite important today.
Yes.
Because we hire people without actually physically touching them.
Yes. Yes.
And that's okay. It's becoming normalized in a lot of roles,
Mm-hmm.
especially thought leadership roles that are high-paying positions.
Yes.
Right? We meet the person after we've hired them. They've done some work for us, and then we go to a conference or we have an office meeting or a client meeting, whatever the case is. That's really great. But I also want to comment on this notion of going eyeball to eyeball with someone for 15 minutes on a regular basis, because I think we miss that opportunity a lot. I think a lot of leaders get so actively involved in what they're doing, they're forgetting their job is lead.
Mm-hmm.
And the most impactful way you can reduce the 45% number of people that say now's a good time to look for a job
Mm-hmm.
is to be connected to them.
Yes.
They don't leave companies, they leave managers, they leave bosses.
Yes.
So, right? So if you're going to lead people, a couple of things that I want to leave people with in this conversation today that I think make a huge difference. Have an environment where people are open, I'm going to say vulnerable, but open and able to say, look, that's not a job I can do. You can't count on me for that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The only way you get that is as the leader, if you say, hey, look, that's not a job I can do. Who can back me up? And you start enlisting other leaders in your organization that want to start filling your gaps. And the benefit of that is you're developing leaders and leadership and giving a great example to your leaders about how to bring their people up. By the way, there's a side benefit, Dwayne.
Yeah.
You ready?
Yep.
Leaders that do that get to take a 2-week vacation. And they don't have 2 to 4 hours of work every day on their vacation. You have people on their teams that can actually carry the load. And then you can fix anything that was a problem for them when you get back. There's rarely an emergency that's worth interrupting the time with your family. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, when you and I, we've been around the block, right? My why today is that parents get to go home or come out of their office, sit down at the dinner table with their family, and talk about what a great day they had, so that their kids have the opportunity to say, gee, I can have an amazing job like that when I grow up.
Absolutely. And you know, when I think about these 15-minute sessions to accomplish what you just described, to me, there needs to be a little bit of an agenda that goes with it, which I'll share in just a second.
Mm-hmm.
But when I am doing one of those 15-minute engagement processes, and sometimes it's 20, sometimes it's 10, sometimes it's 45, but in any case, I recognize that the person I'm chatting with here, they have a heart, they have a mind, and they have lives. And everything that I do in this leadership role impacts all three of those things for these individuals. So in that 15 minutes, I want to share with them, I want to make sure that they leave with the thought of, here are the things that are creating a little stress for me. And I'm curious, what are the things that are causing stress for you? What are the things that are just out there that are kind of gnawing at you, that unsettle you? And let's see how we work on those things. And of course, we do include what each of us is supposed to deliver to the organization or to deliver for one another as a part of the delivery of what we do in our particular role. And that's okay. But what we want to do, and it isn't just talking about your children or your spouse or your household or any of that sort of thing. It's really around this issue of what's going on in your thinking, what's going on in your heart, what's going on with your feelings. Let's chat about those things and let's be open about them. I'm going to be open about mine because that is how we get to openness and transparency. Now, in Brene Brown's vernacular, that is being vulnerable, but no one is attacking me. So it isn't about being vulnerable. It's just about being open.
Well, I think it's just about being honest with people.
Yes. Yes.
I think,
Yes.
honesty is the foundation of trust.
Yes.
And when trust is broken, it's because people feel you've been dishonest.
Yes, exactly.
So they're always looking for that. Your comment, Dwayne, about these 15-minute meetings, I just want to share because I wrote in the book an actual meeting schedule. Like, how do people in organizations meet so that they can have a accountable environment? And, in my view of it, and all of these assets are downloadable off the Accountable website. But in my view of it, what's available to people, if you've got a mission, you've got milestones for the quarter as the leader of your organization, and then you have priorities, and you are having people in your organization head up those priorities. Mm-hmm. That 15 or 30-minute meeting, it does everything you said with a structure of, hey, this is one of our priorities, and you get an update. Hey, where are we at in that one? It was supposed to be completed today, and you hear, oh, it's done. Yes. Or, hey, I haven't done it yet. Now you can find out, like, instead of all of the 20 minutes of reasons that you would normally get, you can find out, hey, look, are you committed to doing this, or is this something I should assign to someone that's got more skill or the time for it or something?
Yes.
But and it can only happen if you create the environment where people don't get penalized for not being able, not liking, not interested, not having strengths in doing something.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because if you penalize people, it's kind of like being, in a hockey game. You put them in the penalty box for a whole week. They're thinking, should I go get another job? They're totally not interested in anything going on in the company, and you can own that.
Yes.
But you'll often blame it on them.
Yes. Yes. Well, and I tell you, when we get to organizations where there's a lot of contention, if you will, and the issue is how do we exceed goals and how do we do this, there becomes real pressure on everyone to just say yes to the people to whom they're reporting. They just say, yes, we'll go do this. And then they come to their team who has to now deliver this, and they put the same pressure on them. And so it's the long old story about what rolls downhill. And unfortunately, that is a pervasive behavior in organizations. We set the bar high, we set the standards high, we keep the pressure on, we stress, we go do this, we make the numbers. And so as a result, we have a report like you and I are talking about here.
Well, and I will add one more thing to that, because that's really a great point, Wayne. Just a short story before we close. So in the process of writing my book, I interviewed one of the executives that I'd worked with. And I said to that person, I said, has there ever been something that you were asked to do that you said yes to and had no intention of moving forward on it? So the answer was very simply, yes, often. And I want you to just get that. That exists in the world. And I asked why. He says, well, first off, I have so many things I'm being asked to do.
Uh-huh.
I can't get them all done. And my team is not big enough, and there's not enough resource to bring to my team to get all of these things done.
Yes.
That's the first thing.
Yep.
But what underpins that as the foundation is the penalty that you pay by saying our team or I can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
You can't count on me for that. That penalty will get people to tell you the things you want to hear instead of the things that you need to hear.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, that's, and it takes the right kind of environment for people to really be open about this, what I can be counted on for, right? This accountability is, to really have openness and transparency about what we can do, what is count onable for me and for my team.
Yes.
And so anyway, that just, to me, just really is a nice way of kind of getting to a summary point, if you will, as to really where we need to get to in these organizations if we expect to attract and retain talented individuals. We're going to have to build an environment in which everyone thrives. Everyone knows that they're contributing to it. Everyone knows that their voice is heard. And that's really where we need to be focused with as leaders and as executive teams. It starts with the executive team. If the executive team can't live the way you and I are describing, it cannot happen in the rest of the organization.
Dwayne, I think that's a great note to complete on today. I want to thank everybody that took the time to join us. We'll be back next Monday. I've got another amazing guest. Scott Ferguson is joining us. I was on his podcast, and he is just an amazing, amazing leader. Dwayne, where can people reach out to you to learn more about the work that you do and how you can support them?
Well, they can, of course, LinkedIn is one of the ways, I'm very available on LinkedIn. And then I have a website, a personal website with my name, just the DwayneCanova.com. You can find me there. And would love to chat, engage, and just learn and develop with as many folks as we can. So please reach out. Look forward to talking with you.
Thank you, Dwayne. And for those of you who are not directly connected with me, feel free to reach out or go to the countonable.com website. We'd love to have a conversation and maybe have you join us on this one that we do every Monday. Have an amazing day, everyone, and a great week.
Thank you all. Thanks, Jeff.